What's going on, y'all? My name is Joltage, and today we're back. We're bringing you another LPL LCUU recap, this time for week 2. And we've got some more folks here in the call this time. Making his 4th channel appearance, we've got LCUU head honcho Kip. Say hi.
Back again. Welcome, everybody. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Following up from his appearance last week, we've also got Zero.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And though he had some issues with cutting in and out last week, we brought him back. It's JC.
Hey.
All right, and then 2 newcomers to the channel. First up, we will talk about Jocks, who has an LCU YouTube channel of his own that you all should check out. Say hi to the people.
Hello everyone, 067 Jocks here.
And last, but certainly not least, who made his LC YouTube debut just last night with his podcast on the Vullaby Suspect. It's KSG, Kid See Ghost. How you doing?
What's up, YouTube?
Oh, is that what
Today,
we know?
I'm on the podcast.
That's right.
Yes.
All right. So,
Just like yesterday.
all right. So we're gonna go through all the games this week. We again had 4, as you know we do, and they were pretty interesting. A little hacks filled this week in some of these games, but we're gonna start off with the first game of the week, which was JC versus Serene Grace. Serene Grace, obviously being my player in this game, and I'll just get it out of the way now. My team lost, which was unexpected to say the least, but we'll get into that in a sec. So
Maybe the biggest upset of the week.
definitely the biggest upset of the
cheers.
week.
Yeah, for sure.
But so I want to first get JC's thoughts on the game, being that he was one of the players, and then I want to go on and give a few of my thoughts as well. But JC, the floor is yours.
I mean, I wanted to be like from Serene. I was just expecting to be either something super standard or some kind of cheese. So I didn't want to go to try and catch the matchup again. And I just rolled it with one team I had, and it just worked well. It got a fairly good matchup, but even then, I was like honestly so scared of Carvana. But yeah, I mean, Seren obviously played well. I just tried to play my best, and it ended up happening. Like I just got told like a few minutes ago it wasn't Protect Carvana, but yeah, we can't talk about that later. So yeah, if you wanna add something about that team.
Oh, sure. So, Serene's team was built by me. It was just kind of a team I threw together as the last drop had shifted in. Wanted to mess with Carvana. I love Carvana as a mon, and I just kind of threw it together, and I kind of just dumped a bunch of teams in the team Discord before the whole start of the season. And Serene ended up going with this after first testing out a team that he had built a little bit, not really liking it. I brought after testing it against a standard blueprint build that I brought, and he ended up going with this, which was unfortunate. The matchup was really unfortunate for our end, in my opinion. Really, just because the one win condition of the team is that Carvana, and when there's a Meowth, there's not really anything can do about it. Plus just the general combination of things between the Giga Drain Natu being such a problem for my team, as well as just Joltik being Joltik, doing Joltik things. It was unfortunate in terms of matchup, I think, and I take that loss as my fault, more of a complacency loss in my opinion. Also would have preferred to have not played on the Monday, so I could have actually thought about the thing. But it is what it is. It's whenever my players want to play is perfectly fine. That's their prerogative to do so. But definitely didn't turn out how we wanted. I still like the team, but it probably isn't like a top type of team.
I think it was a hard matchup for you guys. But don't you think you guys had like a little bit more counterplay? Like I feel like Serene kind of lost the momentum in the early goings of the game, and I feel like he kind of crumbled a little bit.
No, that's fair. Serene didn't have experience with the team, using it, so or just in the tier in general. So I'm not gonna expect him to have like played all of the outs perfectly, but it was just difficult from the start. I think it was like, I do think we could have won, for sure, but it was a more difficult matchup than it needed to be.
Yeah.
And
it was definitely a hard matchup.
Yeah,
for sure.
But
I was a little mystified by like the first few turns. Like Serene got the lead right, and then he doubled out to Croa for some reason. I wasn't totally clear on why he did that. Do you have any insight into that?
I don't, to be honest. I don't know.
Like maybe he thought that Panch was gunk shot. Like
that's possible. Though. Yeah,
that was like
that would just be that would just be lack of metagame knowledge. But I'm not.
It's
I'm
also
not really
possible
sure.
He might have been predicting a double, but I don't know what Crow was the right response to on JC's team. But anyway,
if it had knockoff, it could have been a response to Fredish.
Yeah, but
right.
Yeah.
But Phil's is a weird switch into Cotton.
Yeah, for sure.
Guys,
Yeah.
we all go to turn 21. So if you press Kavana versus Joltik in the Cog, then Serene Grace was more likely to kill the Joltik right here, because it was actually a 50-50, and Serene Grace also has the chance to kill the Joltik with get a flinch on the Joltik.
Yes, I do think that ultimately, that was a big turn in losing to Carvana there. I don't think it ultimately mattered, simply because there was a whole Meowth there, and the actual way for us to win from that position is for JC to overthink it and go for the feint, predicting us to have Protect, which we don't because we are manly and we run 4 attacks Carvana.
So I revealed that to JC a few minutes ago.
Yeah. So it was 4 attacks Carvana with both Jet and Liquidation and Waterfall rather. So that's part of the reason I think that we just
it was Waterfall, not Liquidation.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant to say. Sorry if I misspoke. Yeah. But yeah, and that's part of the reason that the Meowth matchup in particular was so difficult. Again, it would have required that we're just kind of banking on him choking. Well, not really choking because he doesn't know, but like misplaying the situation. But
this is a good sort of I mean, do people have other thoughts? Because this is sort of a good transition to my game where my Meowth kind of got cut.
Yeah, I gotta say that after calking it, it was more of a 50-50 roll than a roll on Serene's favor. But yeah, it got tough because on the game I was like very nervous, not gonna lie, because I was really thinking it was Protect Carvana. So yeah, it definitely could have ended bad for me. But yeah, I like how I played that, and even if the Meowth matchup it was good, I don't know. I think I'm happy with how the game went. I hope to keep getting this kind of
yeah. No, when
I think if
we're doing enough to pull out the W. I mean, for sure. I mean, even when he's out of his element, Serene's always dangerous. So props to JC for that, for sure.
For sure. And this game,
I think if it was Protect Carvana, it probably would have been an even matchup.
Yeah. And JC, were you 12 death Joltik or were you 13?
12. I mean, wait. I think I was 13. Let me check real quick. I forgot.
That might change the role, but I'm not positive.
And the other thing we seen it from this battle is how good Joltik actually is.
Oh yeah.
I'm 13. I was 13.
Yeah. Here's the issue that I have with Serene's team, and it's the issue that he ran into with matchup This game for me is really strange because it feels kind of like a ladder game. People are just clicking buttons. It didn't really feel like it was going anywhere. But the big problem was Joltik and, as Joltik mentioned, this Natsu. Both of these mons really big problems for a lot of defensive team structures just because of the coverage that they have. That grass secondary to hit Sandshrew is so big, especially for Joltik. And really, Serene didn't have switch-ins for either of these. So he really had to deal with, he had to pretty much sacrifice Cottony all the way to get any mileage against Joltik, which was just really going to shred him otherwise. And then Natsu was also a problem because the only thing that he has that can switch into Natsu is his own Natsu, or if you're crazy, you can go Carvana. But I think we recognize that play is a little nutty. So these two sort of offensive standard bearers, it did not feel like Serene had much counterplay for either of them. And ultimately, the effectiveness of these two is why I ended up bringing them to my game, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a fair criticism of the team. In my defense, I built this before week 1, so like the explosion that we've seen of Joltik in particular, and Natu to a lesser extent, though I think Natu is in an extremely good spot at the moment, like better than it usually is, but it definitely wasn't built with those threats in mind, and it didn't have the proper counterplay for those, and ultimately I think that's a big reason why we lost. But I think we've talked enough on this game. We'll bounce back next week and destroy. I think we're playing KSG or something, so KSG will lose. And
what a nerd.
And we'll bounce on to the next game of the week, which was Zero versus Jove 97. This was a very unfortunate game, as I referenced earlier. Jove brought some very, very hyper offense here with very clearly a screens not to, some setups spam here, and Zero brought a fairly standard looking almost blueprint team, but he's missing out on the water type here. But why don't you talk us through your team and how you felt the game played out, Zero?
Yeah, sure. So I knew Jove was going to bring like hyper offense cheese. I played with her a little bit, and she actually clapped me in like a room tour a few weeks ago with a special Caravania and a Hales like Magni team that was like not too dissimilar from this team structure. I also knew she had Reese, who was my former teammate, like kind of supporting her on the team building side. So I was just trying to like kind of play it safe, and like Jackson, Levi, and I talked quite a lot about like different things that would like make sense, given what we were expecting. I guess like the tech that I brought, the two techs that I kind of brought, as you said, Joel, like this is a fairly standard team. Obviously, there isn't a water type, which was a big issue here. But I had Scarf Sandshrew, which basically 4-0s this team, and so like part of the big tragedy of this game. And then the other kind of fun thing here was Spadef Salandit, which was my Joltik and Krogan switch-in.
Okay.
It's neither of those mons can. They both like 3-hit. Salandit here and Salandit can Oko either of them. So that was kind of like my big fun tech, but unfortunately didn't get to shine here. And basically what happened was I got the lead right. I Oko'd the screens not to before it could do anything. She went Panch, I went Caught, and then she doubled out to Omanite, and I didn't really have a good Omanite switch-in because my Cottony was Defog, dual stabs, and knock, and no Encore or Tailwind, which in retrospect was a big error, and Jox and I had actually talked about this, possibly swapping out knock for one of those moves, and I didn't do it. And I obviously am full of regret now because the Oma was able to smash. I missed my Thunder Wave on my Salandit, on my defensive Salandit, and from there it was a GG basically. She didn't miss any of her Hydro Pumps. I tried to kind of switch around to, lure the Hydro Pumps, and she hit all of them, so I was a GG. But I think I was pretty favored to win this game. If that Thunder Wave landed, I feel super confident that I would have cleaned it up. But that's how it goes. That's Mons.
Yeah. Was the Meowth knockoff as well?
Yes, it was.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's a
Standard.
slight team building mistake if you have 2 months with knockoff already. Like you didn't have Anchor, but as you said, it
Yeah,
was a 90% chance to win. Yeah,
yeah,
it happens.
yeah. True. I won't make that mistake again. But props to Jove. That was a super spicy double. Going to Oma there. Yeah, I think Jove's a great player, and I hope she does well in the future week. Yeah, there's not too much more I think to say here. I mean, I actually tested with Magby. I tested against Magby. I was pretty confident, but say la vie. Oma though, to be honest, I wasn't really thinking about that much. I'd really only faced like Joltage, I think, has used Oma in a few room tours.
Oh yeah.
Oma's super threatening. I mean, if you don't
Yes.
have a water type, Oma just kind of wins. So people definitely build. Remember to bring your water type. Remember to bring your kind of outs with Tailwind and Encore. I mean, I guess one other thing I want to say, something I've talked to Levi about in the past is I guess a little like of my personal history. Like I started playing LCUU like about a year ago, and like Joltage gave me one of my first teams, and I kind of learned a little bit through the way that he builds his play style, and a lot of that was often like having a lot of outs. Tailwind Cottony was on like one of the first teams Joltage gave me.
Love Tailwind Cottony.
And I've always liked having that flexibility to kind of turn the game around. When you're kind of out. But Levi was kind of like saying that like that play style is not actually as common in like LCOU, or hasn't been as common up until maybe recently, when there's been this kind of like resurgence or like sudden like boon and cheese and like set up hyper offense. But for the most part, like running things like Tailwind or like Encore is not really something that's like raw to LCOU very, very often. So I think,
and even then, there's the possibility you go Infiltrator instead of Prankster in order to be able to defog away sticky webs against the Stunky or whatever.
Right.
So,
like, I think in the team building process, like having those outs is something that like I think I've usually thought about in the past, but in these recent weeks, I've been more thinking about like the more immediate answers to cheese and kind of outplaying rather than like having that like emergency. But I think it's true that like right now, you need to consider those options. So anyway, that's
definitely.
Yeah, get that.
No, that's definitely true. I wanna. I thought you brought up a lot of good points there, specifically about Oma and that play style of using like Tailwind Cot and Encore in particular. I think those are pretty essential to have on Cot, and it's one of the reasons I think Cot is as good as I think it is. And I just want to. I think my personal affinity for that goes back to when I learned LC in general, with ORAS being such a thing. Unlike in SM and in SS, the smashers were giant threats, like absolutely massive threats. You had to have something for them. So that's been one of like the things that kept me, like, that I keep as a core part of my like process, especially in LCUU now, where we have all of the smashers except Shelder, which we could get into, but we won't. So like things like Gunk.
We had Dwebble. We had Dwebble last season, and we had to be ready for that.
Exactly. So like things like that, you just gotta be ready for, and it's part of why Cottony is so good, and why I hate the prankster nerf with everything I have. Did anyone else have any more thoughts on this game in particular, or do we think we have everything that need to be said?
I mean, did we cover the fact that Meowth was key last game, and this game it didn't do much because Omanite was a sweeper?
Because of Omen. Yeah, that's true.
See, Meowth is actually, that's actually a good point. Meowth is excellent against a lot of very offensive like threats and setup sweepers. It's one of our number one checks to Zigzagoon, one of our number one checks to Magby, things like that, just frailer things in general it can handle. But Omanite and Tortuga in particular is not something that I can handle. And you need to have other outs toward that. I actually, now that I think about it, I do want to bring up a fact that I know in the video, because I actually caught this one live, which if you haven't seen that video, you can just go look at my channel. I it took me a while to just realize that it wasn't encore caught, and like even then I was just like, no, dude, you should have gone to caught anyway. But I do think, I do actually think there's merit to I would have gone caught anyway.
Yeah, I could
because
have gone to caught and faked encore.
Yeah.
And maybe it would have scared her out, but
Yeah.
I don't think it would have.
That's possible, and because you had the thunder wave, like you didn't expect to miss it there, so I like your play is definitely defensible, but like the threat of the encore, I think would have been enough. If I'm her in that situation, I'm like, I have a whole stunky, I'll just go to that on this cot on this encore.
Right. No, that's a good point. It's a good point.
That's a given. You know the metagame as well as you do. Like Joe, I know she's played a bit. I'll see you in the room tours, but it's possible that she would see through the bluff or just not know about it.
Possible. That's possible. Well, but you know that is
who knows.
Also hindsight, and it's unfortunate, but I'm sure Zero bounced back.
I mean, Joltage is right. Like in my head, in that moment, I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like really, my only play here is the T-wave because I was like, my cot doesn't have encore. But it's true, I could have bluffed it. But you know, I was basically tilted at that point. So.
Yeah, no,
that's fine.
We get why you were tilted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right. Well, from that game, our next game of the week was another fairly unfortunate one. Happened earlier today between Kip and KSG. We have both in the call, so we got to hear both sides of the story here. We haven't heard from KSG in a while though, so I want to hear him first. Why don't you talk us through your team and what you were thinking about throughout the match?
All right, so this team went through a few iterations. I haven't been building a ton for this tournament thus far. I'm still kind of getting back in the swing of playing Pokemon, but I tested a bit with Joltage. I tested a little bit with Serene, and basically I've been really liking these strong, fast Life Orb attackers that can put a lot of pressure on these sort of soft check defensive cores that people work with. I considered Stunky for a little bit. I settled on Magby. Actually, one of the couple things that I stole from a Joltage test team is this Life Orb Magby set.
Yeah.
Which, of course, had a rather unfortunate ending later that we'll talk about. But I liked Magby a lot for its ability to really pressure a lot of defensive cores. I don't think anything in this tier deals with it that well, bar Frillish. And then I knew that I wanted Joltik because Joltik is just that good right now as an offensive threat. And I like Natu as well because denies hazards, and also I think it's a very potent offensive threat. So, getting into the way this game happened, definitely the big kind of Sag moment, if you will, and I hope you will, is the Fire Blast missed. The problem is that I had the tools to be in a better position before this, and Kip can disagree with that later if he thinks it's true, but we have this turn 1 Rock Slide from the Scarf Q-Fant on Joltik that does quite a lot, but I get this big piece of chip on Q-Fant, which means that Q-Fant now dies to Life Orb Mach, and I know that I have to preserve this Joltik because it's just that effective against the rest of his team. Like, I know that Joltik is living a vacuum wave at this percent. It still gets a lot of mileage against stuff like Frillish, even against Sandshrew, Natu. So I keep that alive. The real problem for me, and the part where I'm playing this game like way too fast, I just wasn't really thinking through my turns effectively, is that I get this really nice double back into Frillish, and I get the Giga Drain on Krogunk. What I should be doing at this moment in time is that I should know, without even having to calc, which I didn't do and I should have, I should know that Thunderbolt kills here. And the problem is that by fucking around, by not just clicking Thunderbolt, forcing him to go Sandshrew or just die here, which he would have, I let this Krogunk do way, way too much damage to my team. I let him get the knock. He basically takes Natu out of commission on this sequence. I really did not think he would stay in here on this Natu Krogunk turn on turn 6, where I U-turn out, but he calls me out. I'm lucky to get the Sandshrew in, just pivot off with the Sludge Bomb. But losing Natu for basically nothing when I could have claimed with Joltik really just not smart play on my part. I need to slow down, and that's something that I'm going to be taking care of in the future. I still think I had a chance if this Fire Blast from Magby misses. Of course, the tragic miss here on turn 8. The problem for me is that my risk reward was off. There's really no reason for me to go for this Fire Blast over Psychic. I really did not properly consider that he'd be playing for Belly Drum and stay. But even if he wasn't staying, there's a Frillish in the back. So why am I Fire Blasting like that's getting me mileage? So I think that's a misplay on my part. It's unfortunate that it missed because I would have made a lot of progress. But the question I have to ask, and the question I was asking within about 10 minutes of this game ending, is why did I even click that at all? And then, of course, the rest of the game, I'll address one kind of wonky play at the end. We get to turn 20, I zero brain, and I encore a Natsu. My play here is I have to go to Ammonite and I have to Shell Smash.
Yeah.
Because I'm Smash
You were Smash
Ammonite.
Oma. You were Smash Oma.
Right, I'm Smash Oma. And at that point, he's going to lose the Natsu, but I don't beat Frillish. And then, it's just a question of whether I can get to the rest, which I think I still lose from that position. But
it's done.
It's like obviously the wrong play. I don't know why I encored there like it was going to do something, but that's my thoughts on the game. Yeah.
Oh, just as a note, by the way, you could memento on a Natu and it actually works.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy because I had memento.
I know. That's why I brought that up. And I don't think... Kip, was your Natu Giga Drain?
No, it was a Heatwave.
Ah, well.
Okay,
that could have ended bad then.
Yeah, as soon as if you look at the team preview, I see a Natsu, I see an Alolan Sandshrew, I see a Magby and an Omanite. So I'm like, this is Screen's hyper offense. And then it wasn't. So that's the main reason I stayed in with Krogunk.
Right.
It's because I was like, this has to be a Belly Drum set. It has to be. He has 3 sweepers and a Natu and a Momentomon in Cudney, and I got very fortunate that the Fire Blast missed, and out of there, there was another misplay in the Cudney anchoring on my Natu, which was very fortunate because I totally misguessed the matchup at team preview.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, your analysis is not wrong,
No, that's it definitely does look like a Natu Screens team, much like we just saw in the Zero game. I think it makes a lot of sense. Your team, Kip, was a fairly, not standard webs, because I feel like standard webs has a lot of Pancham Stunky on it. But you combine the two with the Krogunk here. So, what was your thought process going into building the team in the matchup with KSG in particular?
So I didn't know what to expect from KSG because, as we said and as I knew before, he was getting back into the tier. I didn't expect him to have any building tendencies yet because of that. I did know there hadn't been any Lilip yet, so I expected him to bring that. I did know Joltik was very good, which was what I brought the Rock Slide Scarf Cufen, which could take that out of the game early, and it did help this game. And there were no web teams before this week, so I decided to roll with that because if I was scouted and the other games were scouted, that was not something that KSG would expect if he was getting back into the metagame. So that were my main thoughts, and then I just messed around with whether I used Famkaboo or Frisch as a spin blocker, whether I used Sword Stance or Stealth Rock, Sandshrew. That was just testing with other players.
Okay.
I ended up going with Sword Stance, Sandshrew, and Stealth Rock, Scarf Cufen, which didn't end up throwing it down, but that's just stylistic choices at this point.
Yep. Yep.
All right, and
It's extremely funny to hear this conversation because it should tell you a lot about where my mind's at or where it isn't. That looking at this team on preview, until this discussion, I did not realize how much this just looks like I'm running screens.
yeah,
Yeah.
It would have been so fire if I had built this and just hard bluffed screens.
Right.
But
I
it
kinda
didn't
thought
even
that's what was
cross
gonna
my
happen.
mind.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I honestly
mean-
didn't realize that either until Kip mentioned it, and I looked
Yeah.
at it and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
right.
same.
But
Wait, there's only one thing you can do. You just bring this next week and you have Screen Natu. No one goes
I bring screens not to, and everything else is the same. There's not
Yes.
even a belly drum Magby.
No, the
That
battle was
would be dope.
you were saying
I
something?
wanted to point one thing out, and it's that we kinda look at Magby like like a one-dimensional mon on belly drum, and the life force set is actually good. So that's something
very
that people
threatening.
should look at.
Yeah, I was about to say that, and obviously, we'll see that in the next game. Amp brought Life Orb Magby as well, although it didn't really accomplish that much. Yeah, I think the Life Orb set is totally valid, but it doesn't have quite as much defensive utility as some other options you might bring as a Life Orb mod. But that being said, it's definitely super threatening. The roles are interesting if you kind of look closely at the roles. I mean, it really depends on how you split it out, right? Like if you go Fire Blast versus if you go Fire Punch.
No, you'd go Flare Blitz and kill yourself.
Yeah, that too.
Yes.
So how much does Psychic do to Pancham?
It doesn't do that much. I think
It
it does like 70
does,
ish.
yeah, it does like 70-ish.
I think it does as much as Elekid Psychic, because if I remember right, 15 to 16 doesn't change a lot of the roles.
Not usually.
No.
No.
14 to 15 changes one or two offensive roles. I think it changes maybe a Thunder Punch roll here and there. I think it also changes a Mach Punch roll if you're running like a point of defense on a Violite Sandshrew. Running 15 over 14 helps a lot with that Mach roll, which is what I was. I was 15-15 offenses.
Yep. I think you kind of have to play this as a cleaner, I mean, I guess you could try to break with it, but, you're going to end up trading more often than you are going to end up,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it really depends on the matchups you're going to see and what mons you have in the back as well. In this case, it kind of could work as a breaker, particularly if it actually had brought out the Frillish. Knocking that down for Omanite later would have been excellent for you.
That's true.
Because otherwise you have to like smash multiple times on a Frillish to actually get through it, which you can do, as Zero knows. But yeah, anyone have any other thoughts on this game? It sounded like Jox wanted to chime in earlier there, but we kind of talked over you. Did you have anything you wanted to bring up?
There's still the game of Kicklef and KSG.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the game was performed perfectly well, outside of the psychic turn from Magby. I think the Fire Blast miss, I think if you just psych it and just keep it a little bit cool, that would look like a way different battle. But we already discussed that. Like outside of that play, this boss is a really good battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't pay to be bad and unlucky. So next time, we're not clicking 80% accurate moves.
Yeah.
Especially when you're
Flamethrower
hungry.
Magby. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, and finally, let's get into the last game. Just wrapped up somewhat recently. Was Pamplona versus Albinson. This one was a doozy. Pamp brought some wild HO, and Albinson brought some more fat looking team. There's a Slowpoke and a Lilip.
Yeah.
Both making their first appearances. I think Stunky is also making its first appearance on both sides of this matchup.
Most defensive team we've seen.
Yes, which is definitely interesting to say. This matchup played out kind of unexpectedly. It was looking like a pretty straightforward win for Albinson throughout most of it, I felt.
Yep.
But ultimately, Pamplona was able to pull it out thanks to a kind of fortunate paralysis on the Pancham late game.
I don't think there's any kind of about it.
I mean,
You're talking about a paralysis that came from a thunder punch.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know.
That was a There's a low probability para.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, maybe I was underselling.
I
it
mean,
a bit.
unless Albinson clicked parting shot on that specific turn, it didn't really matter at the end because then it just
It did.
go back to full with the berry juice.
No,
So.
he clicked knock that turn, which would have knocked off the berry juice, and then we saw how much Meowth was doing to Tortugo. So that definitely did matter. And I think Albinson would have been able
Oh
to
yeah,
pull it off there.
then it did matter.
Yeah. Though I thought Albinson not being Mold Breaker Pancham was a little weird. And I also don't really like Sturdy Juice Turt, but that might be a personal thing. But, you know. Yeah. But this was an interesting game. Slowpoke was pretty good throughout, I felt. Just kind of shrugging off super effective hits like it was nothing.
I think Slowpoke looked pretty good here because Pam didn't have any knockoff support.
It's very true.
He also didn't have a U-turn on, so like there was nothing to, like I think a standard blueprint build would have been kind of, the Slowpoke would have been a big momentum loss because you get knocked and U-turned on.
Absolutely.
He doesn't even, there's no electric or grass type either. There's just all of these things that you would expect on a standard build that would punish Slowpoke. None of them are here.
Yeah. So the Slowpoke
Other than Stunky.
Free for Albie.
Yeah, Stunky's it.
Yeah. But Pamp did make some really cool prediction plays throughout this game with
Pamp
with some thunder punches and some high jump kicks with the Riolu, but
he also made very good use of the copycat of Albinson's own moves, throwing down the stealth rocks, getting the parting shot in.
And the parting shot really didn't do anything for him though, as he just kind of sacked him on.
It was cool though. You have to admit it was cool.
Oh, for sure. But
I have some thoughts about this.
Sure.
So we knew that Pamplona was going to bring something crazy. We discussed as much before we started recording, and I haven't tested with him in a while, so I know that Pamplona has a penchant for running crazy stuff in pretty much any setting. And off the bat, and I was saying this to the other members of the call, this looked like Final Gambit spam to me, which is something that Pamplona infamously beat Lily AC with in, I think, a seasonal set.
It was in Swiss.
Yeah. It's Swiss. With the same, like, Mine Jr., Riolu, even Diglett. This just looks like, okay, I'm going to wipe out half your team, and then we're going to go from there. But instead we get this very unorthodox bulky Mime Jr. with T-Wave, which is something that I've seen before in really rare contexts, but we don't really see this Mon used in UU. And we get to this really unfortunate endgame with the Para, but very smart to defog to set up the Turt. I don't know how well I like this team's matchup against most of the metagame. Like, what does this team do against Krogunk?
It goes
if
Mime
you bring
Jr.
a Life Orb Krogunk. Yeah, you go Mine Jr. and
mean,
guide a Sludge Wave.
You get Sludge Bomb.
Exactly, but like, you just try to get it in. It's
I will say Mime Jr. gets pretty decent rolls because of filter against Sludge. I mean, unless it's Life Orb, it's probably going to survive a Sludge Bomb or a Sludge Wave and KO back with a Psychic. So
yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah.
So
it was heavy. Wasn't it?
the Mime Jr.
It was a Violite, yeah. It was knocked, though, at one point. Like I said, this was a hypothetical, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What did you want to say, Jux?
Yeah, can we go?
I agree with you, Ghost. Like, it's a weird team that probably doesn't perform super well against most of the meta.
All right, we're liberating Jocks here.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Right, thank you. So, this is easy to say because this is after the battle, but the only misplay I can see in this battle is turn 20. You obviously see that the Stunky wants to get rid of the hazards, and we can assume that the Tortuga is 30 smash. At turn 20, if we have gone for the rocks and doubled out the Meowth, that was a win right there.
Right.
And I think the Earth Power was a wasted move at that point because it didn't kill.
Yeah.
If we got up,
Maybe it was-
Alvinson might have thought that it was gonna kill. Right.
It might have been a miscall.
yeah.
But that's a good point, Jones.
Yeah, not even something I really thought about. But yeah, no,
But
the
like-
rocks. I would have loved to have seen rocks there. In particular, I think that's
Yeah.
definitely a good call. Yeah.
I mean, the problem with that, Jox is right though, in the sense that you don't even want Lily alive at the end of that interaction. If you claim Stunky after the defog, Turk just comes in and sets up on you,
Exactly.
Right.
and then you
Yeah.
have to hope
Yeah.
that it misses a Stone Edge.
Right.
Yeah.
But like that's easy
Yeah,
to
that's
play
totally
after the
fair.
battle.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough because this isn't a set that we deal with a lot, but definitely you'd have to play out of this a little bit differently to avoid that end game.
Yeah. Actually, yeah,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't think we see this type of Stunky a lot in general. Most of the time they are full special or like nasty plot in some way. At least I don't think I've seen.
They
a
certainly
combination.
aren't corrosive gas.
Yes, corrosive gas. I think is
That was
decent.
new. I didn't even know it got that.
Yeah. I would like it more if it worked on Sticky Hold, but it doesn't.
Oh, it
But no one
doesn't?
brings Shellos anyway, so
No,
who
it doesn't.
cares?
Right.
And Shellos used to be everywhere. Now it's nowhere.
Jolter, I wanted to say this before when you were clowning on the non-mold breaker Pancham. I do think there's a lot of merit to Iron Fist, and yeah, like what are you bringing mold breaker for? There's no Shellos.
If you're parting
Parting
shot,
shot under the Natu.
Yes,
Yes.
parting shot on the Natu, of course. That's
Yeah.
the only, but that's like really like the kind of the only reason, other than either Shellos or the rare Trubbish. I mean, otherwise.
Joltage is always asking me why my Panchams are Iron Fist in test games.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
that's
man's
one,
got curiosity.
it's one of my things, you know? Like, I'm never going to run the elemental punches on Pancham, so it's like, Iron Fist is solely for Drain Punch at that point, and I'd rather have the utility of Mold Breaker in situations for your sturdy mons like Tortuga, and Tortuga really the only sturdy mon that's relevant with Aeron and Roggenrola and all them being shit. But, like, I'm not running the punches, so, like, Mold Breaker just makes way too much sense, and y'all can't surprise me and bring a Shellos sometime and think y'all are gonna get me, even though I know y'all don't bring that. I know it's gonna happen at some point. I will be ready, okay? I will have
There's no
Toxic.
sex appeal to bringing Shellos.
I will have Toxic on my Goldeen. I will be ready for your fucking Shellos.
Shellos just isn't a mon that you bring or you feel good about. It's like, yeah, I'm the cool anti-meta guy. I brought Shellos. What's it going to do? It's going to sit here and it's going to recover 15 different times in this game. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think Shellos made more sense even when like Pony G was around, because you could kind of 1v1 Pony G if you played it right.
Yeah.
But
No,
now it's just too passive. You just
I
can't
think
really-
Yeah,
trouble-
like there's no reason to use Shellos over things like Freely's Goldeen or even some defensive Oma Knight if you wanna go for some more wild stuff. But yeah,
I think you could, but again, you're giving up a lot of momentum. It's kind of like running Munchlax right now. Like
Hey.
you can run Munchlax and it can work, but you're just like giving up so much momentum. It's kind of hard, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, and Shellos does have
the-
things it does, like, better
Yeah.
than Frillish. In particular, giving you a not knock weakness, but like a knock immunity is so good, because everything's running knock. So like with Frillish, you can't. With Frillish, you're fighting check core because you should be running at least 2. is probably at least a little bit knock weak, unless you've like also got like Cot and like Gunk as well. So like you don't always necessarily want to be running Frillish, though I do agree Frillish is better than Shellos. I think Shellos has a place in that people just don't like using it, mainly because pink Shellos is ugly.
Blue Shellos, beauty.
No, but Frillish has an... if you use Frillish with Alola Diglett, you basically are immune for Magmi and Zigzagoon, because you switch into Alola Diglett, sack it, they get the minus speed, and you just go out to Frillish and kill them all.
I like that.
Like,
Yep.
Does that work?
I mean,
If you
that's
undercut
a
Alolan
thing,
Diglett,
yes,
you can
but
wiggle?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm kind of worried about killing Zigzagoon in particular after that, but
That's a Pokemon we haven't
I
seen
mean,
yet.
yeah, Zigzagoon hasn't appeared yet.
let's not see that, okay,
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody
you know what
agrees
hasn't
to not
appeared
use
yet?
Zigzagoon.
Yo,
I want everybody
You know
to know
what-
that I'm not winking when I say I'll never bring Zigzagoon.
Okay,
Me neither. Fuck Zigzagoon.
exactly.
Fuck
no
garbage.
promises on my eyes.
Okay, well,
mm,
everybody run your Pumpkaboo and other ghost types when facing Kip.
However, you know what also hasn't appeared yet? Mantike.
Yeah, Mantyke's
Yeah,
not...
that's right. Our old
I mean-
standby.
Wait, didn't we have a rain game last week?
Oh, that's true.
yeah,
Oh, wait, yeah.
I brought Mantike, so yeah, that's
Okay.
not really true.
Dang. Kip, you big,
Okay,
you big
fake-
old liar.
Fake news. Fake news. Fake
This
news.
is a bad look.
Forgot.
Everybody's disrespecting JC right to his face.
Oh
But
my
you know,
god.
we haven't. But that was Rainsweeper Mantike. We haven't seen the.
Was it Protect Toxic Rainsweeper Mantike? That's what
Yeah.
it was?
Yeah, yeah.
Powerful set.
Yeah. Unconventional approach, but
I'm just,
we haven't seen Quest's patented 20 Spidef tank Mantike.
yeah, that's
Probably eats a Volt Switch from Joltik.
It might, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, Joltik's not that strong.
Not after rocks, though.
Yeah,
No
that's
way.
the problem.
true.
You switch it.
Yeah.
So what do we think is gonna appear next week? Are people gonna go more toward the Magby cheese, Screens cheese, or are we gonna keep seeing these weird like offensive pivot teams?
I probably will be running, fucking Sand or, Agility Joltik.
Agility Jolt. I tried the Agility Joltik.
I mean, that sounds fair.
Yeah.
All right.
yo,
Maybe
Zero,
But
Progress.
Zero, are we going to do it to him?
Yeah, we're gonna
Bring it?
do it. We're gonna do it.
Alright.
It's gonna be done to me.
Exciting. I'm very interested to see what it is in this case. But in terms of other things we haven't seen, I was memeing about it, but we haven't seen Sand yet. I think that's probably primarily due to just how unfortunate the Hail matchup is and how worried people are about Amara in particular, who also took a back seat this week after seeing some reasonable usage week 1. Do we expect Hail in particular, or even just Veil type teams to show up more, or do you think that...
I think Hale's still pretty strong, and I know Serene is a big fan of Hale, so I expect either him to use it or someone else to use it, being inspired by him. So, yeah, I would be surprised if there's no Hale next week.
Mhm.
You know, will it appear more than once? I don't know, but I would
I think
expect
the main problem with Send is you have to run Hippopotas, and because you run Hippopotas, you need to run Stealth Rock, and because you need to run Stealth Rock, both your Lileep and your Sandshrew lose massive roll compression, and that makes Sand just very inefficient.
No.
I mean, that's not necessarily true.
No. You do not need
Okay.
to run rocks on the Hippo.
Yeah, that's true. You can run it on the leap easy. Hippo
Yeah.
kind of hits hard, actually, if you
Yeah,
EV
it does
that
hit
way.
16, I believe.
It hits like 18 if you really wanted to.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. I've never ran that offensive of a Hippo before.
Yeah, most people don't. but you could.
I think you can hit 16 with like defensive investment.
That's
And,
true.
like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can hit
Yeah.
you can hit 16 while having 14 defenses. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, which
You
is
can
pretty decent.
also you can also be bulky special hippo with Scorching Sands.
Classic.
Scorching Sands, Weather Ball Hippo. That's fucking good.
Scorching Sands really hasn't caught on in our metagame.
I
RSG.
run it
is
on
so
Baltoy.
bad. 70 base power is really bad for rolls.
Hey, man.
It also, I feel like it just doesn't proc the burn.
Yeah,
the way
it's
Scald-
no Scald.
Scald? Scald
Yeah,
you get
it's
that
not
burn.
Scald.
Scorching Sands, you don't get the burn.
Scorching Sands is a 30% bird chance, but Scald is a 30% bird chance.
You know-
and that's the difference.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it also doesn't help that you're hitting the fire types with the Scorching Sands.
Right.
I mean,
True.
you know, you can hit other things, but yeah.
Although
Usually,
who's brought a fire type other than me?
let's see, KSG, Pamplona.
Oh yeah, we got Maggie. We got Maggie. True.
You know,
Nobody's brought Billy Drum Magby yet.
no, I don't like Belly
No,
Drum
because
Maggie,
it's
to be
bad.
honest. Yeah. Well, with
Can we
Meowth being as-
talk about? Go ahead, Jolte.
Oh no, I was just gonna say with Meowth being as good as it is, Belly Drum Magby loses a lot of value, at least in my eyes. But what did you want to talk about?
Yeah, same. Yeah, I just want to mention that after seeing what, in my opinion, was super surprising, no Q-Fund on week 1, we saw a lot of Q-Funds this week.
He's back.
Yep.
Boy's back in town.
Qfinch
Oh, no.
never left, baby. Qfinch
It was
that
week 1 was a
dude.
weird fluke.
Yeah.
It was a weird fluke.
Week 1 was just a lame party, so Qfin was too cool to go.
Exactly. You know, he's on BPT, and you know he has to show up when he feels like. But he's here now. But yeah, I think we've gone through most things we wanted to talk about this video. We won't get into matchups next week because we don't know what they are yet.
I mean, I just got confirmation that I play Pamplona and I am already sealed. But yeah, I'll talk about that later.
okay, yeah, no, I mean we'll just talk about that game next week. Make sure you have your
Slot yourself, Jiltich. Slot yourself.
You guys don't
I'm
want the
waiting.
death lineup. You don't want the death lineup. I'm telling you, you don't. But
I'm not a team player. It's all about me.
okay. But anyway, we'll catch you guys next week. Hopefully, we'll actually have one of these next week. I don't see why we wouldn't, but who knows. But if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, comment any thoughts you have on the LCU metagame, what you think is good, what you think is bad, things like that. Subscribe for more LCU content, and yeah.
Subscribe to Jux and KSG.
Yes, subscribe to both of them as well. I don't know, KSG, you're actually going to be prolific with the content. Was that a
We'll
one-time
see.
thing?
Oh, I hope.
We'll see where the wind blows.
Okay, I hope not. That was interesting. But anyway, yeah. See ya. Bye.
Ciao.
See you guys.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.